Welcome. I'm so excited to have a dear, wonderful, amazing soul sister with me today who I absolutely adore. And I just feel
You,
blessed to have
Yvonne,
her
I adore
on.
you. I adore
Yeah.
you.
Yes. And Kelsey, I would love for you to introduce yourself and tell everybody what you do in this beautiful world because you have so many amazing gifts. So I would just love to hear.
Thank you. My name is Kelsea Mazzocco. I would say that ultimately, forwardly, I am a spinal energetics practitioner, but that kind of umbrellas really all somatic energetic healing. I teach Kundalini yoga and meditation as integration tools along with this practice. The more and more that I've done this, I've realized that integration is the most important part about it all.
Yes, it is. Because you can
So
give them
on
all
every
the stuff, the big performance, the big thing, like the big aha. And if there's not a path forward to ground it in, it's,
Yes.
yeah.
And that is new for me in making sure that I include that for my clients because we can have a can opener and we can open all of this dynamicism open where they're really able to see a lot of truth that they already are. That's really the beauty about spinal energetics. What is it? It's
Yeah.
a energetic modality. It comes from network spinal life force activation, cranial sacral, shamanic energy medicine. It's been derived from many modalities.
Okay.
And we are working with the 33 points of the spine. The spine is your nervous system. It is that highway that we can get this stuff in our head. We can go to therapy forever. We can really think that we've gotten through and understand things for ourselves, our threads from that 0 to 7 when we were little, and we made all of those nice, beautiful, protective belief systems in order to keep us safe. And then we realize that we're choking on our own wounds and we're repeating cycles, right?
Yes.
Over and over again. So spinal energetics is designed when you're really ready to touch all of those places within you that you do not feel free.
Wow.
All of those places where love, the love that's within you and all around you, has not touched yet, like the dark little closets. Right. So it feels like magic. Magic is a funny word because it's your own magic. You this whole time, and we've just been focused on our mind and our physical body and our humanness that we didn't know that we had these superpowers that live within us. And so it literally is a training. I'm a facilitator. I am not doing the healing. I am facilitating the individual connecting with their own system in a way that allows for them to see and to know at a very deep level inside of their body where those protections have been. They just naturally, it's like an autonomic system, just like you're breathing. The breath really is breathing you, the heart is beating you. This is another system that a lot of people are not aware of, that is that innate ability to heal. I always tell people it's like those when we were younger, the pictures that you would look at and it'd be like a jungle. And somebody would say, there's a blue dragon in there. And you're like, there's no blue dragon in there. I don't see a blue dragon. And you're staring at this and you're like, this person's crazy. There's no blue dragon in this picture. It doesn't exist. And then all of a sudden you soften and you're looking from this different perspective and then you see the blue dragon. And it was there all along. And now you don't unsee it.
Yes.
The magic of this modality is that once you've actually experienced it, it is yours. The energy is
Love
with
that.
you. So you could call it, I feel like I'm a trainer because once you've gone to a trainer like 5 or 6 times, you could go to the gym and you could do that workout on your own, right?
Yeah.
It's always nice to have somebody else holding space for you. And it's always nice to have somebody witnessing you in a very loving way, maybe that you don't witness for yourself. So it calls that on for you to allow that freedom and that safety to unwind. But the truth is that the energy that you're experiencing inside your body is you.
Oh, I
So
love that. That's
it goes
very
with
powerful.
you, it goes with you and it's yours and you can pull it on whenever you want, and really allows for like a new whole awareness in life.
That's amazing.
Pretty
Girl, I knew you were going to bring it. There is no, like, you just went, whoosh, let's just dive deep. Let's get in there. So I want to unpack something because some of our listeners, if they're new to this whole world of healing, they might be like, what protective measures are you talking about? And I think of how you're talking about 0 to 7. We have all this subconscious programming, right?
Yes.
And I like to call protective measures, another word that I use often in my world, is coping mechanisms, right? We might have been in survival. We might have experienced some form of trauma. Most of us have. Who are we kidding? And there's a way that you respond to your environment so you can survive. And so you're saying that this work, and I have so many questions, but you're saying this work helps with those protections, those coping mechanisms?
Yes. So they've served you very well. You are now an adult, you are thriving. In fact, some of those protections, for instance, I can take myself, for example. You make a decision at 6 years old, very silly things like my dad used to watch us on the weekends because my mom sold real estate. And so it was like he's gardening, having his good time. He would make us all go to the hardware store. Every time, I'm the oldest child, he would tell us that he's taking us to Disneyland. And I was like, finally, I'm going to use my voice. Finally, I'm going to speak up. Hey, you're not taking us to Disneyland. We're going to the hardware store. And my dad, who thinks he's funny, if you know him, he has a very sarcastic sense of humor, is like, why don't you stay home with the neighbor? And then he took them to Disneyland.
Oh, wow.
So this can be trauma, real trauma, things that have really happened to you, very dark, or this could be little T's, little traumas, where these situations like I'm talking about, where I'm a little person, I have a little mind. This is who I look to for the safety, for information, for guidance. Immediately go to, I'm not going to trust, especially if they're in a masculine body. I'm going to do it all myself. I'm certainly not going to co-create with anybody. I'm going to do it all myself. I'm the only one I can trust, right? So these are some protective layers that we're talking about that come up. And then we usually don't find out until we're older how they've filtered every area of your life.
Yes, that's the key.
Right there.
Is that for so long we're on autopilot, reacting the same way we did since, how old were you at that time? Whatever
like
that age was. 6 years old. 6 years old.
This is a 6-year-old nervous system that made the best decision she could make from where she was at, right?
Yeah.
Now that we're an adult, and now that we can be the adult, meaning adulting ourselves, parenting ourselves, right? We still have that little girl that lives inside there that's screaming and mad, right?
Yeah.
But we can go, oh, wow, we no longer need those protections. We see what was actually occurring. I am safe inside of this body. I am safe to have all of these feelings. I can trust others. I do not have to do it all myself. So this work, basically, without having to reignite the wound, so we don't have to feel the trauma inside of the body. We actually don't even need to know what's happening.
That's what I was going to ask you, because what I hear you saying, and I don't want to interrupt, but I feel like a lot of times, you mentioned this, is when we're in therapy, for instance, we're intellectualizing something. We can understand why we are the way we are. But what I hear you saying, or what I feel like you're saying, is that we don't need to exactly intellectually understand this. Like, there's a intelligence to the energy. Is that true?
That is true. So when I work one-on-one with people, I do an assessment on the feet. And so the feet, it's like a conversation. I'm initiating a conversation with the body and the individual. So the body starts to talk. There's these different things that we do, and there's different processes that we're focusing on. And every person is completely different because every person is on a different journey.
Yes, so much so.
We're all on a different journey. And that's why it's never a good idea to look at anybody else's journey and try and compare yourself or catch up
Yes.
to anybody
Amen.
else.
Yeah. Because
We've all
it's
done
unfair to
it.
ourselves. Yes.
Yeah, we've all
Yes.
done it. But so what we're doing is when we do the assessment on the feet, and I've gotten deeper into this work, intuitively, I can already tell what it is. So I work with people online and I can already tell what their feet would tell us.
Okay.
But basically, we can tell where the bound tension is initiating within the body. So if we're thinking about this nervous system, this column, the Sushumna that goes all the way up from the crown, all the way down through the root, this is like a riverbed. Okay.
Yes.
And think about if we have the little boulders that we have accumulated, right? The samskaras. Each time the body had an aha moment, I'm not going to do that again. We're going to wrap it up like a little spider web. We're going to like just wrap it up nice and tuck it away right here. This one's going to go right in the heart. This one's going to go in the lower gut. And then you're wondering why you have gut issues, why your lower back hurts. What came first, the chicken or the egg? The energetics affects the body, affects the mind, just like the mind affects the energetics and the body. They all intertwine. So each person has a different gateway in that's a little bit more, this person's more physical, right? So they're going to work more physically through the body. So they're going to have a more visceral experience through the body. Other people are very still and it's just working on the energetics. They don't even know that anything's happening to them, but the energy is hitting them the exact same way. And they're just unwinding. It might show up as emotions or waves of heat or sensation coming through the body.
Okay.
It might come up as some people do have visions where they are seeing old patterns and stories that they are like, I would never remember my high school boyfriend right now, or I haven't thought about this friend since I was 4 years old. Things like that do happen. So it is all connected, but we actually don't need to know. And with the breath and with the activation, so I'm doing an activation on, we are using the chakra system.
Okay.
So it does have to do with each one of these chakra systems, people think is very, but honestly, they're like very intricate cities that live within the body that govern over emotions, glands, organs.
Yes. Different systems in our bodies. Yes.
So if we're having some bound tension, let's say within the back of the heart, for instance, we can feel a pinch in the back of our shoulder that's never ending. We can't get enough massages to get this thing out. And so I was working with a client yesterday and she had an embedded, like literally has gone to acupuncture, has gone to, gets weekly massages, does everything to get this pinch out of her wing.
Oh, wow.
And when we activated her system, it was, first of all, in the mind. So the mind was like a cap, holding on to all the ideas that she thought were what this was, all the ideas for what life was happening.
That's interesting.
Once we opened the cap, the flood opened, and then everything else opened after that. And she was saying, she was like, this is like an autonomic system that happens within the body that I didn't even know I had.
That's powerful.
Because it feels like something is taking you, just like your breath takes you, right? We're sitting here, we're not like, we're not, our heart is beating itself, our breath is breathing us. This is like a meditation that comes upon you, and it's the divine wisdom, the love that's within you and all around you at all times. We just spend so much time in our humanness that we forget that this medicine lies within us.
Yeah. And okay, so when you were describing that, all I could think about was the riverbed. And so when you were saying the way you describe it, you said the cap, like over her head. So I don't know how our listener, I'm very visual. So all of a sudden I just thought, okay, now the water that was blocked from a boulder or something,
Yes, we're pulling the dam.
you're pulling the dam. And so now the energy in one's body can start to flow and start to heal. And you said something really powerful that she thought she knew what it was. Like her brain was analyzing, it sounds like, and saying, oh, it has to, maybe it's this or maybe it's that. We're trying to assign reason to something that is probably most likely beyond our understanding because it could be from years ago or whatever it may be. So I think that's a really important piece of this work is it doesn't require you to know. Like we may think we do, but what you're telling me is the brain wants to assign reason, but once you get past that, I always feel like that's the guard.
Yes.
It's a guard that's standing there and saying you can't enter, but once you move the guard out of the way, then you can go into it and you can figure out what's actually happening and start to move the energy. Is that what you're doing?
That mind
Mm-hmm.
is, I say that in almost every small group that I work in, is that the mind is the ceiling. We cannot possibly get into possibility, infinite possibility, if
Yes,
we are thinking from the mind.
100%.
It is
I agree.
limited. It is supposed
It is so
to be
limited.
It is
I always
supposed to
say
be, yes,
it's logical and it's linear and it loves to go back to the past because it wants to find what it knows.
the
And
patterns.
the patterns and so much of healing is going into the unknown, the mystery, and allowing the infinite intelligence of whether you believe in God, source, universe to start to move through. And I feel like that's what I know this is a weird question, but are you harnessing that energy, connecting to it yourself and harnessing it?
Well, yes, it's hard to know exactly what's happening, but yes, I now, since integration is so important, right? I had to integrate myself. I started as somebody learning this myself. I'm not going to say that it's super easy because we're training the body to start feeling again. And you said a really beautiful thing that triggered something for me about the water moving through. I want to make this clear. There's nothing broken or nothing that needs to be fixed.
Yeah.
This is, if we're talking about water, it's changing forms.
Yeah.
So we're digesting it within our system. We're not getting rid of it. So we're actually opening to digestion, which in yogic philosophy is one of the big teachings, is digestion. But it's not digestion that we think about. It's not food. It can be that. It's digesting of ideas we're turning like ice into steam into water so that it can flow. And once that flow is restored, then the system recalibrates. And then we might not know ourselves for a minute. We might, and when I say it's not easy, you can handle it. It's
Of
not
course,
like,
yeah.
but
Yeah.
there's periods of time where you're contracting because the mind is really clear about how you've lived a certain way. And then these openings of these possibilities happen with these new ways of being and new feeling and sensation in the body of not having the armor on. And that can be very uncomfortable. It's like a turtle without its shell.
It's a little disorienting for
a minute.
Yeah.
It will pass, but this is the beauty of feeling. So as we learn and educate ourselves, our own system, to remember that we can go deeper and deeper into love with ourselves, because that's really what this is all about.
Yes.
As we get deeper and deeper in love with ourselves, what bubbles up? All of the little things that are stopping us from falling deeper in love with ourselves.
Yeah, and for some people, it might be the history of all the things they haven't dealt with because maybe they've never been taught to feel. And so this is not only restoring something, but it sounds like it's creating a safe space to feel again. And I love what you're saying, because anytime we change, it's disorienting. That's just the truth of it. It takes a minute to find your new way after you've had a healing, whether it's a big identity shift, a small identity shift. And I just call it an identity because we were one way before, and then we do this work on ourselves, and then we become more of a who we really are, right? The truth of who we are. And it could feel like, oh, I don't know this version of me yet. But then if you give it time, you start to reorient. And what I love is what you're saying is the more that you feel, the more you open yourself up to the vastness of possibilities that you can receive. Like abundance to me, like being really rich. Like I think, of course, there's like having your bank account be rich, but life can be really rich if you allow yourself to experience it, to feel it. And I love that's what you're helping people do, because so many people don't feel safe feeling. And then they're living a very small reality, right?
They don't know.
They don't know. Yeah, you don't know.
Because that's all that they've seen, right?
Yep, that's all they
know.
You
don't know what you don't know until you get there. And I love what you're talking about with abundance, because in Kundalini yoga, prosperity, they talk about pro-spirit. So it's anywhere within your life that you'd like to infuse spirit. That is the abundance. That is the prosperity. It can be in your health. And it's a blanket statement. So that's why when people say, like, when people are in true wealth, when people are truly in flow, it's not happening in just one area. It's a blanket statement. It's all over your life. So it's also going to wake up all those areas of your life and show you what is blocking you from having that full experience of that abundance and that flow. And we can really talk about it as simply as that plumbing. And then it's just, there's areas within that have the thick mud or have the boulders. And as the flow starts to come through, we don't want an avalanche to happen. So we're very
we don't want to overwhelm ourselves too much, right?
And we want to, that's why integration is the most important in between these sessions. I have a new online platform that's called Shakti House, and it is specifically a monthly Spinal Energetics membership. But most of what's inside there is the integration tools. Because
so important.
If we don't take the time to integrate between these big openings, then, and this is honestly as powerful as some plant medicines. So a lot of people have had very deep plant-like medicine experiences from this work, and it really meets everyone very differently, because everyone is on their own unique journey and at different places in their lives. But I really have not met one person yet that has not felt it. It might take 5 or 6 sessions before they go, oh, there's the dragon in the picture. It's like falling in love. You can explain it to someone, but this is not something that you can explain to someone.
It's not easy to, you're doing it. You're doing fantastic. Easy, what I meant to say, energy, I was going to say easy. Energy isn't always easy to describe because it's subtle at times. But we do have those moments in our lives. I bet our listeners can think about a moment and you're like, maybe you were gut punched. Like maybe you had something really big happen, and that kind of energy bulldozes you. But this is more depending on the person. It could be subtle. It could feel like really calming. So I love that, because I've experienced so many different types of energy work, not spinal energetics yet.
I know.
I got to do it.
Down here.
I know. I got to get to California and do it. But I know for me, even sometimes when I've had Reiki, it's just this like subtle force. And I've had cranial sacral. I feel this like pulsing, whooshing kind of energy. And I just love it. But I have to ask you something, Kelsea. So you're describing to me how it's going to clear the plumbing. It's going to clear the blocks. And I need to know, has this happened to you personally? Because you are so upfront, close, and personal with this energy. And I know as practitioners, we don't often talk about this.
Yeah.
But what we work on with our clients, if we're really embodied, it's moving through our lives too, behind the scenes.
Oh, 100%. And I'm glad I was naive when I started. No, I was just kidding. 100%. And honestly, most of my clients, I have a handfuls of clients that have worked with me for over 2.5 years
Amazing.
because they see the benefits and they keep moving and they keep knowing that we're going to keep moving through. So this is passing, and we do hit some of those hard places. It's funny because my mom we were in reading like Shirley MacLaine, like Out on a Limb when I was 9, and like doing the Course in Miracles when I was 15 years old. I was like in a circle with her. Like she forced all of this on us, and now we're grateful for it.
Wow.
But this has always been flowing through me. So I was a body
Mhm.
worker in my young days, went to energy healing school, a Barbara Brennan 4-year program. And so I've always been doing this Kundalini yoga
Okay.
teacher training, going to Peru and working with the shamans and learning all of this. But when I learned spinal energetics, it was like a mapping. I really got the mapping for all the work that I had been doing so that I had a place to put it.
So cool.
And really engaging in that life force energy work through the body. But you think you get to a good place because when you're in training, you're integrating for like about a year, right?
Mhm.
So it's my work at the first 6 months was very different than my work. And it's really a trusting. I'm sure that this is with you too. And intuition, like you're like, oh my gosh, remember when I used to do this? There's
Yeah,
always
it
those
changes.
places.
It evolves.
But I will say this last year, everything that was no longer serving me, like the rug was pulled. And I had to really slow down for myself and remember why I'm doing this because
Mm.
you become a creative force. It really taps you in to who you really are. And you said that so beautifully. And who I really am and who most of us are, we're creators.
I love that. Yes.
So as you heal, you get more and more creative. It's no wonder that so many very healed people, when they step into their healing, become artists because you really are coming into this full creation of how things are coming through your body and through your mind and how you're seeing them and bringing them into the real world, right? But
Yes.
then you get where this is churning and churning so fast that you have to remember why you're doing it.
Because what I hear you saying is that there's something about harnessing it. It's creative life force energy is so vast. And I guess I want to be specific for our listeners. Like when I think of creative life force energy, I think of God being connected, plugging in to source.
You're
and then
plugging
all
in.
of a sudden, right? And then you just feel this anything is possible, but anything that's been inside of you, and this is healing in general, anything that's been there that is, like you said, isn't in alignment, it's almost as if you can't not see it anymore. You're like, wait a second, this is not working.
That's the difference, the acuteness of you cannot. So like not see it.
So, and that's so wonderful though, because we live our lives and we keep going, why isn't this working for me? Why am I stuck? Most people, when they come to work with me, they're like, why am I stuck, Dawn? And everybody wants to understand that. But when you start to plug in and start to do this work like with you and try different modalities, it's all of a sudden you get your answers.
You get your answers. They're very clear. Then there's the second place where you actually have to take inspired action to make those shifts.
Yes.
And I'm going to just say this very matter-of-factly of where I can only speak for myself, where I got stuck for a minute, where it got sticky for me is I'm a Taurus. I'm loyal. I'm very
in your body.
I got my roots. I don't move very quickly. And it's wow, when I saw some things, some relationships, some patterns that I had been repeating for a long time that they were not serving me in the same way. It doesn't mean I need to get rid of everything. I
Right.
just needed to make some real shifts. Well, you would rather hang on to an ugly uncomfortability than, and I'm being truthful about that. I'm like,
Yes, you
I don't
are.
want to let the binky go, you know?
Yeah, because it's the difference between staying in our comfort zone and getting out of it. But people, they start the healing journey usually because they're uncomfortable. And they're like, I don't like how I feel right now. And sometimes people just want to up level. They're like, I want to get to my next level and I don't know how to do it. So I'm going to embark on this
Yeah.
journey of healing. But whether it's from discomfort and suffering or it's the up level, either way, there's this choice that you're making that you may not even realize is that I want to see the truth. And so then you see the truth. And then to your point, you have to decide if you want to take action and get uncomfortable.
The freedom only comes from letting go.
Oh,
And that freedom is the deepening of the love in the places that we haven't been touched. So we just won't be able to go there if we don't let go of. I own businesses. I've gotten by in life by making a lot of decisions, being a mom, all of those things, telling everybody what to do, right?
you're like, I'm a good boss lady.
I'm a good boss lady. And so that's what I'm going to say that this year has really, the hard little slap in my face was, am I a leader or am I a micromanager of my own life and other people's? And where can I allow others to have their own freedom and their own journey? And I had to look at this work differently and everything from this perspective of what if I'm just creating to create this? What's the point? And then I really had to deepen into what a gift it feels like to me that is because this is contagious, right? So I live in this energy now, probably about 80% of my life. 20% I'm still very human,
Gotta
having a
be,
good
yeah.
we're never going to get away from that.
No.
And but uh, this energy within me, like it's contagious. And when I share it with others, and then they get to remember that is an autonomic system in their own life, and they get to have such an easier way of being, like you're saying, you get to plug into the universe, and you've been doing it all yourself, especially for women.
Oh, yeah.
Like we
Yeah.
are just exhausted.
Yeah. I am a recovering, exhausted person. I lived so much of my life in the force and the hustle, thinking whether it was my old career in pharmaceutical sales and different sales jobs I had, or this business that I've been running when I have been a healer and a coach and mentor. So much of it was from this place of, I have to control this. I think that if I do all these things, and of course we have to take inspired action, but you said something so wildly potent when you said, and I like sent shivers down my arms, and it was, am I being a true leader of my life, or am I just micromanaging so I can feel a sense of safety and control?
Yes.
And I think a lot of people listening to this could probably feel that in their lives if they really pause and take a moment and go, yeah, wait a second. Because leadership is trusting. It also trusts
100.
that other people have the ability to rise as well. We don't have to be the one, I hear women,
100%.
people saying, I can't let anybody else do it because they're not going to do it as good as I do. And I'm like, yes, and that's not the way that we want to live our lives. We want to trust first in that relationship with our higher power, right?
Yes.
But then in that other layer of the people around us, that we're all in a soul journey together and that we lead our lives, that we don't need to micromanage every single person, thing, circumstance. To your point, it's so exhausting.
So exhausting. And what I really finally got to in the layers as they peeled away is realizing that we lose the fun. We lose the surprise. We lose the magic when we're controlling everything. It's like telling everybody what you're going to get me this for Christmas and you're going to get me this for Christmas. And then, you're going to get me there's no more fun in it. You've
Right.
lost all the fun because you're not going to open anything and not know what it is. You're not going to allow for the surprises of the universe that you're still
Mm.
creating, you're still aligning with that truth of who you are. And then you're watching it unfold from others who are finding their own magic within themselves and showing up and doing, there's dances that happen and
Well,
magical.
life becomes that creative art that you were saying.
It's
And
an
that,
art.
yeah. And although in the moment, healing can feel challenging in the beginning, what you're describing on the other side, I just see a bridge. What you're
Yes.
describing on the other side is this creative life where there's mystery and beautiful things unfolding because you're coming from a newfound sense of peace
Yes.
and being who you really want to be in this life.
And people ask me this from the beginning, right? How am I ever, I could never envision myself being a person that would be letting go of this. Or I could never envision myself. And I say, you don't need to worry about that because the person that you're going to be when you get to that place is going to
Yes.
be a completely different person.
Oh, and that is so true. I know both of us have probably
Yes.
experienced. I look back at different parts of my life and I feel like my future self, who I am today, if I could go back to myself 5 years ago and say, "Wait, you're going to be living in another state and you're going to have changed your life and did all these things," I'd be like, there's no way. That version of me would have been resistant, but because I worked on healing and doing different things, coming home to myself, those decisions at the level of consciousness I was over time, who I was becoming, it just made sense. And we don't have to overthink everything.
You don't. And that's really another big aha for me is that you're on a need to know basis. So
I love that, Kelsea.
right now, in this moment, you have everything that you need to have at this current moment for whatever needs to happen. Nothing is outside of you. It's all within you for this moment. And then the next moment, you're going to get a different piece of information as needed. We don't have to, I think that people with healing get a little addicted to healing, meaning
Ooh,
that they're
let's speak
searching
to that.
out all their dark parts. Go have some
No.
fun.
Yeah, go live a little and
Go
then come
live a
back.
little.
Yeah, that's the
Come back.
integration. Yeah.
Yeah, come back, dig a little, and then let it fall into place because natural unwinding will happen when we're in this place of trust. It does, it is magic. It feels like magic to me. I don't know how to explain it any other way. It's God, it's Holy Spirit, it could be whatever it is to anyone. It doesn't have to be what my experience is, but that's what it feels like to me. It's like love that's within us and all around us. It just like it just takes you.
Yeah. Yeah. I think part of embarking on a healing journey is realizing there's no specific destination. So there's no hurry. It's like you have to do this in the level of capacity you have at that moment. You might not be able to digest everything. So it's like you do a little bit, then you maybe take a break for a few months or a year or whatever. There's no timeline, but it's more about, and I'm curious what you're, because when I think of healing, I always think of it as I'm becoming more comfortable with who I am and loving myself more. So I love life more.
I didn't used to think that. I used to think like that there was a destination. I really did. Like back in the day, like when I was younger, I was thinking that I was healing. I was going to get to this place where I was going to be like, oh, and like I would out,
It's all
you
perfect
know,
now.
out spiritual my humanness. And that is just
Right.
not true. So, yes, healing to me is that same definition where we're just fully accepting our wholeness, like all the parts, the good, the bad, the ugly, like whatever, all the parts are allowed in, and some of it is not comfortable, and we sit with it, and we sit with it, and we sit with it, and just by sitting with it, it starts to move. And then it starts to turn from that ice to that steam to that water, right? Just by being present with it. And that's what's happening in a session. It's just activating that shift to happen, and then all of a sudden the flow starts happening, and then things get out of the way that have been clouding the vision, and you don't even know why you see something completely different, why you feel lighter, why you feel less constricted, and it's because
Yeah.
you're touching your own freedom. You're
Oh,
having you're giving yourself the opportunity to feel freedom as well as other people.
what you just described when you were saying being able to sit with the good, the bad, the ugly, it made me think about how important that is right now for 2026, the way that the collective is rapidly shifting and changing. What a gift to be able to be with all that is and not think that because if there's something that comes up that feels ugly or not great, whether it's in yourself or outside of yourself,
Yes.
having the ability to not get so reactive and be like, oh my God. So your work sounds like what you're facilitating is this way of having composure over yourself and over what's happening so you can coexist with whether it's good or bad with what's happening. Because it's not always going to, we can't control the collective. We can't control all this stuff that's happening outside of us.
No, and the frame of reference of, yes, it is happening to us, but it is happening for us.
I love that.
So it's a really hard thing to digest that when you see so many things that feel wrong,
Yeah.
but that wrong is part of our old language, right? Good girl, bad girl, wrong. I try as much as I can to stay away from that language, and there's nothing that needs to be fixed. There's nothing blocked. There's just mud. There's just stuff that's undigested.
Yes.
So when we start digesting, we see things differently. It's not everything's out to get us. We're not taking everything personally. There's not. So we start to shift and see that there needs to be some breakdowns before there's breakthroughs. That's very clear.
Yes. And
Like,
and people could just know that that's that's
it's part
life,
of it.
right? It's just part of it. And if you're not having any breakdowns, eventually you will because it's being human. I'm
Think about
really,
the seasons. Like in
yes.
Kundalini yoga, it's very much the teachings are about the seasons. And it's like, we are not in summer all the time.
No.
We are not in spring blooming all the time. We have our winter where we're really going introspective, when we're really taking accountability and looking at everything that we did the last year and going, oh, I want to do a few things differently.
Yeah.
And
Yes,
there's
definitely.
time when the leaves are falling off the trees and we're like, should I chase the leaves? Should I chase them? We have to allow for an empty parking spot in order for another opportunity to drive and have a parking spot. So
Yeah.
if we want to create at this level, like there's prana and apana, like prana, there's so much life force. I heard a very beautiful thing that, I just love it so much. So we're coming out of this very masculine Piscean era, right? And we're coming into the awakening of the divine feminine. If you're on Instagram, everything is divine feminine. Maybe it's just my algorithm, but it's divine feminine. Well, we've been breathing and breathing in, right? All this prana to saturation where we cannot hold anymore. This is the masculine. This is the doing, right? We're holding it. And now we're on the exhale. And the exhale is surrendering. It is letting go. It
Mhm.
is this great exhale that is happening throughout our world, our community, our planet, our lives. So the great exhale, I like to say. And this work taps you into that.
Yeah. I have over the years learned more and more to surrender and to trust the flow and the rhythm, like you were saying, the seasons, because I'm a reformed control freak. Like I just always wanted to have everything in a certain way. And now I'm like, no, that's just not gonna happen. But I'm so curious, Kelsey, for people that are brand spanking new to healing. If they're like, I don't even know where to begin. What would you suggest for them?
The one thing I want them to know is there's many roads to Rome. I'm a believer in, I've done a lot of work like you from all these different modalities, and I truly believe that they're all leading to the same place. So find
Yes.
something that really resonates for you. That's going to work for you.
Yeah.
I do believe in committing to something. Commit, because there's going to be a period like we're talking about where you're going to want to quit because you're getting to the goods. So if we haven't committed to doing a year, or there's very rarely a one trick pony that's
One
gonna
shot, one stop
clear
shop. Yeah.
everything for you. Even like some of ayahuasca or like a plant, like these things. A lot of times what happens is then they're not integrating back into life. So yes, you could have all this great awareness and all of these very huge shifts in belief, but we actually have to be humans unless you want to go be a monk on the mountain. So we've got to integrate this. I believe less is more, doing it more frequently. And I do think spinal energetics is an incredible tool in combination with coaching, therapy. That's the best formula, because what's happening is we're opening in ways that we have never been able to open before, that we couldn't just get to by talking. And then we get to go discuss those things or write about it, right? With our coach, with our teacher. So I'm going to say that is my favorite combo of modality, is to mix the two, the somatic work with the psychocerebral. I think that if you did that and then you are taking inspired action to move forward on the hits that are coming for you, that is another big piece that I just was writing about, is that these inspired actions, if you don't take the hit, you are going to, somebody else is going to take it.
It undoubtedly. I have so many stories in my life. I'm a pretty big action taker. I'm an Aries rising, so I'm like, when I see,
Oh yeah.
impulsively sometime, now I'm tempering it, but I've seen it so many times where people are like, I have this great idea, and then they don't take action on it, and then somebody else goes. And it doesn't mean that more than one person can't do it, but if you're receptive to it and you receive it, yeah, take some action. And when you were saying the thing about committing, and I do love also, I agree with you, some form of somatic work with some form of coaching or therapy or something like that is beautiful. But when you were saying the commitment piece, I always tell people, especially when I coach somebody for 6 months to a year, there's this sweet little spot about 3 months in. Because when you first start this work, you're like, oh, this is so fun. I'm having all
Yeah,
these
I feel so
awarenesses. Feeling so good. And then all of a sudden you're like, I don't want to do this anymore. This doesn't feel good, because you're, like you said, you're like starting to hit on that piece that's probably sticky or not fun for you to look at about yourself. But if you are listening to this podcast and you are working with somebody right now and you are at that spot, you are about to hit gold. If you stay the course, if you allow yourself to be with your resistance, you guys have to realize that the micro affects the macro. So the way you are towards that resistance, that speed bump, right, where you have to slow down a little bit but still keep going, is how you're going to be in your overall world as well. You want to learn to not give up and not see, you want to see it through, because if you can see that through, then when you're an executive at your company and something gets really hard, you just don't give it. This is about teaching your nervous system not to collapse, but to learn how to expand and hold, which is why somatic work is so incredibly important, because all of us are learning how to hold more. Don't you think, Kelsea? That's one of the biggest things is, if you can hold more, then that means you can hold more blessings and abundance. And I don't mean like you're literally physically holding something. You're allowing yourself to feel, like Kelsea was saying earlier, maybe the ugly. If you're hitting a resistance spot, maybe it's something ugly in your life that you're like, I don't want to look at that. That's uncomfortable for me. But if you do, then you're telling the universe, I can handle this. I'm strong.
And it's usually the mind coming in
Protecting.
and with its limited beliefs and its limited thoughts of what you think telling you, oh, this is not.
Yeah.
It's the ego just hanging on for dear life because you're about to break through. You're about to break through to a whole nother ceiling, and there's going to be no control. So it's that last Hail Mary trying to keep you safe so
Yep.
that
Keep you
you
the
don't
same.
experience the bigness of who you are.
Oh my God, I love that.
Yeah.
I
Well,
want everybody to experience the bigness of who they are. Oh my
and it's
God.
think about it in a relationship, it's the same thing. You meet someone, you have the 3 months, you're like, "Oh, like all this stuff." And then it's like all of a sudden the mirrors start showing you yourself. You're on your best behavior for about 3 months, and then all of a sudden everybody starts showing their cards, and then all of a sudden it's like you start having to look at yourself because really that's what somebody else is a mirror to show you
Yes.
more about who you are and where you're not free and where you're not in love with yourself. And you're like, "Oh, that's ugly."
It
That's
sure is. Oh my, but that's so true. I agree. That is so true. And that's why we have to see these commitments through and trust that when you get to the other side, there's so much beauty. And what you said is, I love this word, freedom, the freedom. Kelsey, God, I feel like I could talk to you about so much
I
more. We could
know.
go on and
I could
on,
go on
but
forever.
yeah, I would love for you to let people know, and of course, I'll put it in the show notes, but like, where can people find you?
So I work in person one-on-one in Long Beach, California. I do have small groups that I do a couple small groups a month in person, and then I have an online small group membership because I was doing groups online and there was a bunch of random people coming in, and
Mhm.
I really love having a safe container. It is a collective, it's only for women, and it is like a ceremony, and we have it once a month, and then inside there is all the integration tools that you would ever want. There's Kundalini yoga, there's breath work, there's vocal toning, there's guided meditations. So I do have that. It's called Shakti House.
I love that.
And then I'm doing retreats now, which I'm so excited about. And I have a really beautiful retreat coming next November in Sayulita, Mexico, called the Infinite Field.
Ooh, I
And
love that name. It's great.
it's about immersion, right? It's about being able to step away from our lives, our children, our partners, our jobs for just a few days, long enough to allow this work to integrate. And it's a really beautiful, we have the whole property. It's a family-owned property, and there's incredible food, and that's also all women. So
That sounds really fun. And that is
like
so true. When you can get away for a little bit and get to experience yourself outside
so
of all
so
the
worth it.
routines, it's so worth it. I always say travel to me, and especially if it's like in a retreat setting, I find that I grow more in those little settings than I do when I do 6 months of just being at home and trying to do my spiritual work. There's just something so powerful of who are you outside of your day to day, and
Yes.
meeting that version is just so yummy.
And the people that you meet there, it's so wild how it's you have this instant bond. It's like you're friends for life. Half the people I was thinking about that, you don't even know what they do for a living. You're just like,
You actually don't care. You're cool. I like you.
it's
Yep.
just this like root of people because you're so connected at this place from experiencing that version of yourself together. It was really
Mhm.
special. So
I love
yeah.
that. Oh my
So my
gosh. Thank
website
you.
is
Yeah,
Kundalini
yeah.
with Kelsey, and my Instagram is Kundalini with Kelsey as well. Yeah.
Yay. Thank you so
Yay.
much, Kelsey. It was so
Thank you.
lovely to have a real conversation with you. Thanks for always showing up so vulnerably and being such a leader.
Oh, you're so special. Thank you for being a leader. Thank you, Dawn.